Well, good morning. I'm Andre Lacey. Thank you so much for joining us today on Andre the Podcast. As always, I appreciate you being here with me. I have a question for everyone listening to this show today. You ever look around and realize people aren't okay, but nobody's really saying anything? I'll ask that question again. You ever look around and realize people aren't okay, but nobody's really saying anything? Think about that for just a moment. They're still showing up, still posting, still smiling. But underneath all of that, something's off. Energy is low, patience is shorter, motivation is almost gone. And the scary part, the true scary part is it's not loud. It's quiet. No dramatic breakdowns. No big announcements. Just people slowly running on empty. Let's face it, that's a true reality for many people. Many people. And they aren't willing to really talk about it or admit it for one reason or another. On today's show, we're talking about something a lot of people are feeling, but not naming. Quiet burnout. You may ask, what is quiet burnout? Let's dive into it. Now, when people hear burnout, they usually think about something completely out of the ordinary, I guess many people might say. Completely crashing out. That could be something like quitting your job, having a breakdown, or walking away from everything. There are a lot of people in this season of their life right now who have quit a job because they simply thought it wasn't worth it. Maybe they had a breakdown because they were overwhelmed and sincerely stressed out and didn't know what other methods were available to relieve themselves of that pressure. And of course, walking away from everything, putting everything on the line. And in that moment, it doesn't matter. They're willing to let everything go just to have some sense of peace mentally and sometimes even physically as well. Quiet burnout is different. It's different. It's not what most burnouts look like today. Imagine this. It's waking up tired even after you've slept. How many of you have had that happen? Where you thought, okay, I'm going to get a good night's sleep. And you wake up the next morning, waking up tired. Even after getting a good night's sleep, that wasn't enough. It's doing your job, but feeling disconnected from it. How many of you out there know what that's like too? There are many people who complete a job simply for income to take care of themselves and their families. But there are also people who have jobs or careers that they enjoy or that are fulfilling for them. And even still, regardless, all of us at some point have felt disconnected in a way. It's losing excitement for things you really care about, the things you used to care about. How many of you out there listening right now can say that there's been something in your life that you have been waiting for and that you're so excited for and that you can't wait for, and then you get it, and then you lose that ability to have that same joy, that same level of energy of being excited and not really caring about it anymore? Think about that. You're functioning, but you're not fulfilled. And here's the thing that I don't think many people think about. This isn't just a feeling. I'll say it again. This isn't just a feeling. In occupational health research, burnout is typically broken down into these three parts. So if you're doing something else right now while you're listening, please, I urge you to stop what you're doing and listen carefully. It's broken down into these three parts. Emotional exhaustion. Let that sit there for a minute. Emotional exhaustion. Ring a bell? Cynicism. Cynicism or detachment. How many of you have felt detached from something and thought to yourself, what's going on? This is out of the blue. This is very sudden. And finally, a reduced sense of accomplishment. So I'll say them again. Emotional exhaustion, cynicism or detachment, and a reduced sense of accomplishment. Do you know this? Does this ring a bell for you? Does it ring a bell for somebody else in your life who may be going through this? A lot of people right now, they're checking all three of these boxes silently, not saying a word, not coming to terms with saying it out loud, not wanting anyone to know that this is a part of their truth right now. And it's unfortunate because in a lot of cases, people feel like they have to bear it all. No one's asking for help because technically speaking, they're still doing fine. But if you think about it deep in the back of your mind and deep down in your heart and in your spirit and in your soul, you may be doing physically fine in that moment. But what about the mental aspect that many of us, in many cases, have to push to the back of our mind? Because it's not the most important thing in that moment, even though it is in reality. So you may ask also, why is it happening? Why is it happening? I found myself when I was researching to discuss this with you all on the show, I wondered to myself, why is this happening? I'm hearing more and more people talk about burnout. Not that it wasn't a thing in the past, but it's becoming more and more prevalent, or at least it's becoming more of an issue that people are willing to discuss. And honestly, that's a good thing that we're willing to discuss it today and not keep it all bottled up. But there are still some people right now who are afraid to say anything. So why are so many people burning out right now? Quietly. That's the thing. They're doing it quietly. Why is that? Let's be real. This didn't just come out of nowhere. You see, let me break it down for you. The constant pressure to keep going. Now, hear me out when I say this, because there are going to be a lot of people who say they feel one way or another about this. We live in a culture that rewards productivity. And to be clear, productivity is good. Let me be clear. It rewards productivity, but rarely, and I do mean rarely, respects rest. I know people in my own life, and even myself sometimes, and I've gotten better at it, but it wasn't always like this where I've had to pump the brakes. I got to give myself a break. Where I've said, okay, I've worked hard. I've done the work. I've got to give myself a break. Mentally, physically, emotionally, whatever the case may be, I have got to give myself this much needed rest. And that can be hard sometimes. There are people in my own life who I've talked to who have said that they feel like they have to be productive all the time. And if I'm being completely transparent with you, and I promise we're going to discuss this at some point, I'm struggling on what direction to go with it. But I don't think, personally, and this is just my own truth, I don't think I really realized how much I was being productive without resting, really, until maybe near the end of college. But even then, the true understanding for me that I really needed to focus on me and rest and take care of myself did not come until the unexpected health diagnosis that I received that kind of happened out of nowhere. It really forced me to slow down and say, you know what, it's okay to say no. Not that I wasn't saying no to things before, but in my mind, it was the idea of if I know I can help someone with something, or if I know I can do something, I'm going to do it. And I've had to get out of that mindset of just because I can do it doesn't mean that I'm the only person that can. And that it's okay to say, you know what, I can't do it today. Today's just not a good day. Or I'm not feeling myself right now. I'm not well. Let me get myself together first. And then if you want to continue and seek my assistance, we can come back to this at a later date. That's the truth. Sometimes it takes an unexpected health diagnosis or health scare or just things really changing, like the level of quality when it comes to the work or the amount of effort that we put into something. You might notice that kind of dwindle. It happens. There's always something, whether it's another goal, another bill, another expectation. And even when you do take a break, it doesn't feel like enough. When I do this show and I plan it, I think a lot of people think that this is just something that I do on the whim. I'm a journalist at heart. But even before I got my 2 degrees in this field, I was told that preparing for something rather than doing it on the whim is better, because then you can make changes and you can figure out what works and what doesn't work. So when I plan each show for the week, I map out everything. What we're going to discuss, how long we're going to discuss it, the key takeaways, who we might have on to discuss or give their point of view on the matter, whether it's an expert or just someone who's sharing their personal thoughts on something. Whether we're just sitting down and having a one-on-one reflection. Mapping it out. But even with mapping it out and thinking, okay, I've got everything mapped out so I can take a break until it's time to tape. Sometimes the one day, or maybe even 2 sometimes, doesn't feel like it's enough sometimes. And I wonder to myself, I love what I do. Anybody can tell you that I have a true passion for what I do. And I'm sure many people out there will understand where I'm coming from when I say this. But sometimes I'm thinking to myself, all of this hard work that I enjoy doing, where is the rest? Where is the, okay, I can sit back and kind of take in the work that I'm putting in, if that makes sense. And I'm sure many of you think that too. At the end of a long work week, you think to yourself, okay, I've worked hard all week long. Now I'm going to get to rest. And many people that I talk to say that the day, or in many cases, 2 days that they get off go by so quickly that it doesn't feel like they're taking a break at all. Like it's just a short-lived situation. It goes by so fast and it doesn't feel like it's enough. Mentally, you never clock out. You don't. Let's move on. Social media is distorting our reality. Think about it. You scroll for 5 minutes and suddenly everybody's successful, everybody's traveling, everybody's winning. And you want to see people win and be happy and be successful. But meanwhile, you're just trying to make it through the week. And I know many of you listening understand that very well. That comparison, it can really wear you out. And we live in a society where social media, we try to define our lives based off of what we see on social media. I'm one of those people that I don't do that. And I'm so grateful that I don't. But I know people who do, where they feel like if they're not living with or living up to the expectation of the Joneses, that they're not living life. And it's like they're just doing that for social media. You don't get to see what happens when they put the camera down or put their phone down. You don't get to see what's happening behind the scenes. It wears you over time. So think about that. People are carrying more than they really want to admit. Did you think about that? Financial stress, family responsibility, career uncertainty. We've all been there. And for a lot of people, especially in our community, the Black community specifically, there's also this unspoken pressure to hold it together no matter what. Now, that's not to say that other communities don't go through something similar as well, but let's face it. In the African American community, it can be shamed or put down or come off as being weak if you don't have it all together, that, you're less than. So instead of saying I'm overwhelmed, people are simply saying nothing and they keep going. And that's a reality for a lot of people. Lack of purpose or feeling disconnected. This one hits different because it's not just about being tired. It's about asking, what am I doing all of this for? When your work, your routine, and even your daily life feels disconnected from purpose, burnout shows up faster. It really does. Let's take a quick break. We'll be right back in a moment. Enjoying the show so far? Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the Alive Podcast Network for just $9.99. The QR code is right here. Now, back to the show. Welcome back. If you're just joining us, there's a good chance this conversation is going to hit home in some way. So now I'm going to share my thoughts on burnout. This is my own personal reflection, and I sat and I thought, and I jotted down some things that I thought was important to kind of highlight. And so I'll be honest, as I shared earlier, there have been moments where I felt this as well, where everything looks like it's moving forward on the outside, but internally, you're just trying to keep your energy, your focus, and your peace together at the same time. Especially when you're building something. Especially when you care deeply about your purpose. Because passion doesn't cancel out pressure. If anything, it increases it. You want to do well. You want to be consistent. You want to show up at your best. But behind the scenes, you're still human. And sometimes you get tired. Not enough to necessarily quit, but enough to feel it. Just enough to feel it. That's been my thought process through all of this, and that's my reflection. I would love to hear yours as well. Now, let's move on to the dangers of ignoring it. Here's where quiet burnout becomes dangerous, where many of us don't think about it, honestly. Because when you ignore it, it doesn't go away. It builds. It shows up in your attitudes, your relationships, and even in your decision making. You start to care less, withdraw more, and even lose clarity. Is that not true? And over time, what started as just being tired turns into something deeper. That's how people end up walking away from things they once loved. Not because they didn't care, but because they were drained for too long. And that right there, that very pressure to keep going without saying anything, that's exactly why conversations like this matter. Exactly why. Because a lot of people are dealing with more than they let on. They're willing to admit. And that is the scariest part of it all. We'll be right back in just a moment. Join the conversation. Have a story idea, topic, or guest you want featured on Andre the Podcast? Send us a message. We look forward to hearing from you. Welcome back. Throughout the show today, we've been talking about quiet burnout. There's a chance this conversation is hitting home, hopefully, in some way. So let's talk about what it looks like to reset, not perfectly, but intentionally. So of course we deal with faith on this show. So we're going to bring it into something a little deeper. Let's bring this back into what it really means. Because rest isn't just physical. It's spiritual too. Even in faith, there's a pattern of rest, not just stopping, but being restored. And a lot of us, we normalize running out on empty. I'll say it again. We've normalized running on empty. Let me say that one more time. We've normalized running on empty. We pray, but don't pause. We work, but don't reflect. We push, but don't reset. And sometimes the most productive thing you can do is step back and realign. Not quit, not give up, but check in with yourself. Check in with God. And ask, am I moving with purpose or just pressure? Am I aligned or just active? Because those are two very different things. So please, step back, realign, reset, and reflect so that you're not running on empty. So, if you've been feeling off lately, as we close out today's show, whether that's with low energy, low motivation, not feeling like yourself, this might be why. And the first step isn't pretending everything's fine. It's acknowledging it. You don't have to crash to admit you're tired. You don't have to quit to take a step back. Sometimes the strongest thing you can do is recognize when you need to reset. Because burnout doesn't always announce itself. Sometimes it whispers. And that's our show for today. Thank you for listening to Andre the Podcast. If this episode spoke to you, please share it with someone who might need it. You never know who you might be able to reach or bless. And as always, stay informed, stay grounded, and take care of yourself. Please take care of yourself. I'll see you next time. God bless you and be encouraged.